So welcome to the second part of the video, which is titled How to Heal Trauma from Your Mother's Womb. So now, since we've talked about how trauma from your mother's womb is developed, how it's created, how it's manifested when our mother was pregnant with us. Now I'm going to bring you through a somatic practice for how you actually begin to reorient the system to heal this trauma. So when I'm working with someone and there's something going on in their stomach, right? So this is very much an intuitive thing for me when I'm working with a client. There's something going on in their stomach. And for whatever reason, I'm guided to believe that we're dealing with something from trauma in the womb or trauma from their mother's womb, right? And so a lot of times, as I talked about in the previous video, I'm going to be guided to this when it's about their physical safety, that they've never felt safe in the world. It might be some enmeshment with their mom that I'm picking up on, where they're holding a lot of mom's emotion. Because what can happen is when our mom experiences a trauma, when she's pregnant with us, as I mentioned in the previous video, that it kind of bonds us to her and her to us. And what can happen is that we actually take on a lot of her emotion and we create this bonding to her. And as we grow up, we don't want to upset her. We don't want to outshine her. We don't want to cross her boundaries. We don't, we have trouble with boundaries in that relationship. We basically don't want to do anything to rock the boat on that relationship, right? Because we have this enmeshed relationship to her where we don't want to sort of grow and become autonomous and independent and move certain emotions that we're holding on to. And part of the reason why we're holding on to those emotions is because at some point we were young and we wanted to help her. We wanted to hold some of these emotions to alleviate some of the burden, right? So a lot of times when we were experiencing a lot of trauma from our mother's womb, that we're holding a lot of her fear, a lot of her anger, a lot of her grief, a lot of whatever was unprocessed within her during the time that she was pregnant with us. And so these are some cues when I'm kind of picking up with a client. There's some mother enmeshment. They're holding a lot of her emotion. They're holding emotion that's mom's emotion, that's not theirs. A lot like a blocked root chakra. They really, really don't feel safe. And a lot of sort of digestive issues. So these are sort of guiding me in that direction. So once we sort of know that we are dealing with some sort of trauma from the womb, and that's where I'm intuitively guided. And as you're watching this, maybe you do know, in fact, that there was some trauma that you experienced when you were in your mother's womb. Maybe you know that consciously, or maybe you have some sort of intuitive nudge or hit that something was going on, and maybe you watched the previous video that kind of got you curious about some things. And so this can also be an exploratory somatic practice to begin exploring. So what we want to do is you want to be sitting in a chair with your feet on the ground, and then you basically, what you want to do is you want to put your hands right over your belly button. So you want to clasp your hands like that, and you want to put them right over your belly button. And so the reason why we focus on the belly button, because that is basically the bonding through the umbilical cord when mom was pregnant with us. That's how we're being fed. We're right through the umbilical cord. That's how we're able to grow and how we're able to stay alive and be fed during that time that she's pregnant with us. So we want to put our hands right on the belly button, right here. And just to begin with, we just want to breathe into that area. So we're just bringing our awareness into that area. And so once you sort of orient your awareness to your hands right at your belly button, the next thing that we're going to do, it's a really, really simple practice, is as you're hanging out there, you're just going to ask yourself, what's the first number that comes into the space without even thinking about it? So for example, the number was 4. So when I know as a practitioner we're dealing with womb trauma, when someone says 4, I know it's 4 months. I know it's 4 months. And so the stomach and the belly button is always the place that we're going to access. That's the place we're going to access the womb trauma, right in the belly button. So what's the first number? 4. So I know it's 4 months. And so what you do is you just speak aloud 5 times. If the number was 5, it'd be 5 months. If it was 9, it'd be 9 months. If it was 1, it'd be 1 month. And so you go 4 months in the womb. 4 months in the womb. This is what I call a somatic discovery, where we're using language and speaking aloud to activate something somatically. 4 months in the womb. 4 months in the womb. 4 months in the womb. And so whatever number you get, you could just keep speaking that aloud in increments of 5. So you speak 4 months in the womb for 5, take a pause, allow things to settle, and then you go for another 5. You can also just keep speaking it aloud. You could set a timer for a minute and keep speaking 4 months in the womb. 4 months in the womb. And you can even rub your hands a little bit on your belly button. What this is doing is just seeing if we're going to create an activation. And if we are dealing with some degree of womb trauma, we almost certainly will experience some type of somatic response in that area. Maybe a little bit of nausea, we might feel sick to our stomach, maybe a sharp pain, maybe some gurgling or growling in our stomach. So if it is some womb trauma that we're dealing with, we will experience some activation. Okay, so now we've kind of like identified a point, a somatic point in the body. And so basically the way that you heal trauma from your mother's womb, or trauma that mom was experiencing that was being imprinted into you, is through our reorientation with our higher self. So our higher self is, the most free, liberated, joyful version of you. Like it's kind of the hero or heroine version of you. If you saw the most lightest and brightest version of you living your dreams and in the happiest space, what would that be? And so what we do is you keep your hands on your stomach, and now we go to the eyes, and you stare out, and you can close your eyes for this, but you imagine that you're staring into the eyes of the higher self. You imagine that you're staring into the eyes of the higher self. So you just imagine the eyes of your higher self. And so those eyes are probably going to be really light, they're really bright, like godlike or goddess-like. They might be glowing. They might be really kind, loving, safe. Because attachment trauma is from the eyes. So when it comes to attachment trauma in the first few years of our life, it's all about nonverbal contact with mom and dad. And so this is actually how we heal trauma from the womb with the higher self. And so what happens is you just imagine that you're looking into the eyes of your higher self. Just here. Keep your hands on your stomach, and you just imagine that you're looking into the eyes of the higher self. You just pick up what you notice, that they're safe, they're kind, they're loving, they're bright, maybe they're glittery, there's almost stars in them, they're glowing. And just allow your eyes just to totally rest into the image of the higher self. And I will say that the more embodied or integrated we are, or the more open our channel is, the more access we're going to have to the higher self. So, for example, say we're someone, we haven't really done a lot of trauma work, we haven't really done a lot of somatic or embodiment work. The higher self might be really, really hard to access. That's totally okay. That's wherever you are in your journey, that's fine. But it's just something to note. If we have a hard time seeing the eyes of our higher self, it might just mean that we're not ready to be able to activate that vision, right? We're not able to see that part of us. And so much of being able to access the higher self is that we've really, really been able to meet the inner child. So much of the amount of our higher self that we can feel in our body and imprint into us is going to be proportional to how much of our inner child that we've actually met and integrated in our body as well. So continue to rest your eyes. And just allow your eyes just to totally, totally rest into the eyes of the higher self. And just allow your eyes just to totally focus and fixate on the eyes of the higher self. And just really set the intention to calm and relax your eyes, your eye sockets, your eyebrows. Just imagine that they're totally just drooping and dropping down and letting go. Keeping your hands right there on your belly button, right there on your stomach. And now once you've hung out there for a few minutes with the eyes of your higher self, you're going to imagine the eyes of the higher self are moving towards you. So you imagine those eyes are moving towards you. So you imagine those eyes are moving towards you, and those eyes now of the higher self are now trying to come and they're trying to merge into your eyes. They're now trying to merge into your eyes. So just gently imagine the eyes of the higher self are now beginning to merge with yours. And again, if you're not able to access this right now, that is totally okay. You don't want to push your body. You don't want to push your system. Sometimes we might just not be at a place where we're yet able, there might be other safety and orientation practices that our body needs before we're able to move into this integration or into this space and practice and actually begin, because it takes a certain place in our journey where we're actually going to be able to access the trauma from the womb and be able to heal and integrate that. So don't push your body, but just if the eyes are coming to begin to merge with your eyes, and now just allow the eyes of the higher self, that the lightness, the levity, the glowing, the glitteriness, the stars, just allow all those pieces just to totally merge with your eyes. Just to totally merge with your eyes. So now you're imagining that the eyes of the higher self have just totally merged with your eyes. So now you can even imagine that you're looking back at your eyes and they're glittery, they're bright, they're shining, and just setting the intention. If you're feeling pain in your eyes, pressure, burning, that's totally okay. It means that there's some type of attachment trauma that our body's beginning to access. It might not even be from the womb right now. That's totally okay. Now, once the eyes of the higher self emerge with our own, we're just gently going to look down towards our belly button. And as the eyes of the higher self are now moving down towards your belly button, you're going to imagine yourself as however month old you were in the womb. So a 4-month-old fetus being developed in the womb, you're just going to imagine there's a 4-month-old in your belly right now. And that fetus, that part of you that was being developed in the womb, is feeling the impact of your eyes. So I want you to imagine that this little you in your belly right now is feeling the impact of the eyes of your higher self, the warmth, the friendliness, the safety, the glowing, the radiance. Because if we think about it, in order to, be developed in the womb in the most prosperous, nervous system regulating way, where we're going to be a calm, going to be a well-adjusted kid who develops, we almost need to think of our mom when she was pregnant with us as a goddess, that she was pregnant, lying on the beach or by a pool, so calm in our system, able to flow and move, when she was nourishing herself, she was attuning to us, she was, holding us and creating a relationship to us as young as we were in the womb. But that's definitely not the case for the majority of us, particularly if we think about our parents' generation and the tools and resources that they had for their own growth and development. All of this is changing now and it's growing and developing. But when our mom was pregnant with us, she probably was experiencing stress, anxiety. Obviously, I wouldn't know being a man, but pregnancy, having to go through all the different hormones and all the different, physical symptoms and sensations, that it's not going to be easy to be this goddess lying by a pool. But I'm just talking about this idealistic, this very sort of North Star of what would have created this kid that was well adjusted. And think of this kid that's so calm in their nervous system, and the world feels like such an inherently safe place. It's almost like mom is this goddess by a pool, and she's just feeding her body grapes. Someone's feeding her grapes, and she's just like lathering herself, just gently and moving so slow, she's gliding. That's what we would have hoped for. That's what we wish, but it's probably what we didn't get. So right now, we're trying to create some little imprint or variation of that through our eyes. So the eyes of the higher self is looking down at your stomach. And now you can go back to repeating what we repeated before. 4 months in the womb. 4 months in the womb. 4 months in the womb. So now you imagine the 4-month-old, the 5-month-old, the 2-month-old in the womb, experiencing your eyes and experiencing the aura and essence of your higher self. What would it feel like being developed in the womb if you were in the full embodiment of the higher self, the radiance, the brightness, the lightness of those eyes? What would it feel like to be being developed and created in the womb, to feel the warmth outside of the tummy, outside of the womb, and out here in this space? What would it have felt like to felt this warmth and glowing of your higher self? So you continue to look down at your belly button, holding your hands there, moving your hands in a circular motion, and you're imagining that however month old in your tummy right now is beginning to feel the connection to the eyes of your higher self, the connection to your eyes. It's feeling all that energy. And you can keep repeating however many times you like. 4 months in the womb. 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 You continue to allow the eyes of the higher self, the glowing, the levity, the radiance, to look down at your belly button and imagine however many months old that part of you is experiencing that warmth and radiance of the higher self, the aura and the essence of your higher self expanding out. Imagine that you are experiencing that. What would that have been like to be 4 months and be this little fetus that's being developed in the womb, and to feel those eyes, to feel the joy in your eyes, to feel the connection to your eyes, to feel that warmth, to feel that trust and safety, that you know everything's going to be okay. And we're recreating a reorientation experience with the higher self through your eyes and your stomach. Because so much, as I mentioned, of trauma that we experience when we're in our mother's womb is going to hold in our belly. It's going to hold in the solar plexus. It's going to hold in our digestive tract. And it's wanting to move down and integrate with our root chakra and our sacral chakra to be created into sacred life force energy. But in order to do that, this fear and this terror, this lack of safety, this distrust with the world, this anticipation of chronic, perpetual threat responses needs to move down from the tummy, move down into our lower chakras. And so this practice right here is going to activate that trauma from the womb, and through the orientation of the eyes coming, merging with yours, and creating a connection point here, we're creating a recalibration and sort of a reorientation from our womb experience, where we're allowing that young 4-month-old part of us that's still holding in our belly to experience a new calibration, a new imprint through the emerging higher self through our eyes, and just feeling the warmth of those eyes and what that experience might have been for that however month old in the belly to experience that type of safety and warmth in the outside environment. It probably would have created a completely different experience. We don't want to be pissed or angry at our moms for their experience because the times are changing and they didn't have access to these type of resources, and therapy and personal growth and healing and wellness wasn't as revolutionized and wasn't as commonplace in sort of the collective consciousness as it is now. But this is how we heal early womb trauma, which is going to help the stomach, the digestive tract, which is also going to help connect us to our root chakra, allow energy to move from the tummy, solar plexus, into our legs, into our sacral chakra, into our root chakra, to allow us to feel safer in the world, to most importantly feel safer in our physical body. And so much of this trauma that we're still holding and carrying that was developed when we were in our mother's womb is so much of why our root chakra is blocked. It's dense. We're holding a lot of trauma, karma there. We have an anxiety disorder. Like I talked about, being a hypochondriac, that we don't feel safe in the world. We think the world's a dangerous place. Something's always going to happen. Something's bad's going to always happen. We're always waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? That we have a distrust. We have this chaos. So much of disorganized attachment or anxious and avoidant attachment trauma is developed in womb trauma, or birth trauma, or trauma in chaos in the early years. But so much of when mom went through chaos when she was pregnant with us, that's a big thing that creates disorganized attachment trauma, attachment wiring, anxious avoidant, because it's chaos. It's a fear-driven attachment response, right? So when we experience chaos, that can be so much of what creates a disconnection to the root chakra. We have a lot of stomach issues, a lot of digestive tract issues. It can be that we have a disorganized attachment or an anxious avoidant attachment. And so this practice, this somatic practice I brought you through, will help move some energy in your tummy, connect you more to your root, allow energy from the tummy and solar plexus to move into your sacral chakra, and it will help reorient some of that early imprint trauma from your mother's womb that you're still holding on to. And that orientation with the higher self really, really is how you heal trauma that was created in your mother's womb. This is a practice that I bring clients through all the time that activates and kicks up so much stuff, creates so much movement, and is one of my main practices for helping clients feel physically safe in their body and recreate a new relationship to the world and the universe by going back to the earliest imprint when they were in their mother's womb. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching this video on how to heal trauma that was created in your mother's womb. A somatic practice, an integration tool. Give this one a try. Anything that stuck out to you, write in the comment section below. Give this video a like. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and send this to a friend who you feel might need it. Sending everyone so much love, and thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.